Yeah, I nominate Councillor Mike Lewis.
Okay, I hadn't pressed the button, sorry. All in favour of Councillor Mike Lewis? There we are. Thank you very much. Councillor Mike Lewis is elected.
Thank you all for your support. The next item on the agenda is the election of Vice Chair for the Pension Fund Committee 23-24. And I would like to nominate Phil Downing.
Any other nomination?
Any other nominations? All in favour? I hereby announce that Phil Downing is now Vice Chair for the municipal year 23-24. Thank you all.
Sure.
The next item on the agenda is apologies for absence. Have we got any apologies?
Yeah, apology from Councillor Jan Curtis.
Thank you. Item 4, we go on to item 4, which is the disclosures of personal or prejudicial interests. Have we got any? Yes. Will, please.
Yeah, member of the fund.
Phil?
Yeah, my brother's a member of the fund.
Jeff?
Member of the fund.
And me, Chair, member of the fund.
And online? Patience. Thank you.
Yeah, it's patience on
Hello. Phil Rogers and Neith Talbot. My wife is a member of the fund.
Patience.
Member of the fund, Chair. And
Thank
just
you.
to pass my apologies to say I can't stay for the rest of the meeting because I'll be jumping on a train soon back to Swansea.
Thank you for that. That's excellent. Good. Thank you all. Just make sure that you fill all your forms in and give them back to Jeremy, please. Right, moving on to sign and approve the minutes of the previous meeting as a correct record of what happened. That's on pages 1 to 5. If I go through them, page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, and page 5. All in favour?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Thank you. Moving on to item 5 on the agenda. Sorry, item 6 on the agenda. I do apologise. This is a report from Audit Wales, and I believe Gillian Gillette is going to present.
Thank you, Chair. Can you all hear me okay? So I've had trouble with my headphones, but
yes, we can hear you fine. Thank you, Gillian.
Yeah, this is just an outline audit plan for 2023, which just sets out, gives you an overview of our statutory responsibilities under the Code of Audit Practice, which are to certify that the fund's financial statements are true and fair. Also, the audit work we undertake is responsive to our assessment of risk. It also sets out the details of the audit teams and the key dates for delivering the audit. In terms of the fee, our fee scheme was published in January 23, which set out our fee rates and highlighted the impact of the revised accounting standard ISA 315 on our financial audit approach. More details of that and what it means for the audit are set out in Appendix 1. So this is just a high-level outline of our responsibilities and the key timelines. We will be sharing a more detailed audit plan with you in the near future once we've completed our planning work, and that will then set out the estimated audit fee for the audit and the risks that we've addressed that we intend to be focusing on during the audit. That's just a quick summary. If anyone's got any questions, I'm happy to take them. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Gillian. Any questions for Gillian? Jeff, can I bring you in?
Thanks, Chair. No questions specifically for Gillian. Obviously, we've had preparatory meetings with Gillian, and she's outlined her intention and planned resourcing to address the audit. Just to bring committee up to date on the status of the annual report and statement of accounts. Karen is currently finalising and hoping to finish the statement and have it ready to be presented to auditors by the end of this month. So hopefully we'll have a draft annual report to bring to committee in September with a view to audit and completing their work and being able to report back to this committee their audit findings in November. Those are the provisional dates that I previously discussed with Gillian, and those timelines would record with our statutory duties to have an annual report published by December of this year.
Thank you, Jeff. So moving on to item 7. It's, I believe, your report now, Jeff. And this basically is from page 16 right through to page 102. So if I can just pass it over to you, Jeff.
Thank you, Chair. Usual report on the agenda. So breaches report. We're required in accordance with TPR regulations to report those charged with governance breaches that have occurred during the last period. Committee members are well used to seeing this report now in its current format, and let's not beat about the bush. Largely the contents of the report are familiar to you. However, the dates and amounts and change on a periodic basis. But the breaches to report to you are on page since the last period. Sorry, are on page 43, and colleagues have very helpfully provided additional detail in respect of those breaches as requested by committee members. So you can see on page 43 in that landscape table the late contributions, because as we say, these are regular occurrences. They happen quite regularly. They're not of great concern. You may notice the one larger late contribution from the Housing Association of £162,000. It was a month late and only 4 days late after due date. It was an error which payment was set up as normal, but the wrong date was input for the payment date. So hopefully that won't be repeated. That was a one-off in respect of that employer. In respect to the other breaches, they are as previously communicated. They're small employers with one individual. If they go on holiday or on sick, sometimes those payments. In fairness, the timelines indicated by TPR are quite tight. 19 days within the period end to remit all payments. So, quite conceivably with these smaller employers, they can slip. And as you can see, with dates when the contributions have actually been paid, they're not beyond the realms of reasonableness in terms of lateness. We're not talking they're 6 months or a year late. We're talking about the amount of days in each instance. So and there's relatively small amounts. So happy to take any further questions, Sharon.
Just one from me. Have all these late payments been resolved?
When you say resolved, Chair, I'm not going to say they're not going to happen again, because they probably will with in respect of those smaller employers. But the payments have been received, and those members' membership records have been updated to reflect that.
Thank you.
Well, it's just repetitive year after year. The question is, when do they start falling off? Because we've got 24 pages of this.
Sorry, Chairman. That was, I think it was an initial request that I think committee wanted to see if there were any trends. So it was requested that we leave on previous breaches, so the committee could look back and see if we were improving or getting worse, and have a look to see if there are any patterns emerging. But I take your point, Councillor Downing, and perhaps we could edit. And just have perhaps the last 2 years breaches on there instead of the full record. Yes, no, I appreciate that, Councillor Downing.
And it looks bad.
Yeah, no.
Nobody looks back at the first page.
There is a little note which says new breaches since the previous meeting, and they're annotated with a tick in the last box. So that would indicate, you know, the new breaches since we last reported to you.
Personally, I think it's going to be an ongoing thing. I don't think we're going to resolve everything in the future. This will continue to happen as long as they're cleared up as quickly as possible to get the money back into the fund.
Thanks, Chair. Also on page 42, it does say, in respect of GDPR breaches, no breaches to report in this period. Has been brought to my attention in the last couple of days, too late for these papers, that there is an ongoing GDPR breach. We've had a letter of complaint that we are sending LGPS correspondence to a member's previous address, and the new recipient of that house has received, etc. So we're investigating, and hopefully we'll be able to report the resolution of that breach to committee in September.
Thank you, Jeff. Moving on then to 7B, which is the Wales Pension Partnership Business Plan 2003-2026. So I believe you're taking this, Jeff.
Thank you, Chairman. In line with best practice, the Swansea Pension Fund Committee received Swansea Pension Fund Committee's own business plan earlier in the year, back in March. In line with best practice, the Wales Pension Partnership produces a business plan to inform their work programme, not only for the forthcoming 12 months, but as you can see from 2023 to 26, the next 3 years. Lots of the items on here are in train. On page, you can see the details of contents of the business plan on page 56. It starts on page 56. Lots of the items identified on page 56 and 57 are in train and have been reported to committee previously, and you will be updated later on this agenda on as to progress among those items. I'll just draw out some of the key items that are in the business plan at the moment. On page 57, towards the top of the page, operator services. As you're aware, the Wales Pension Partnership operator, Link Asset Services, is due for contract renewal at the moment. We are working as a collective, as Wales Pension Partnership, with the host authority, with our legal advisors, with our investment advisory partners, Hymans, in designing and kickstarting the whole operator procurement process, both design of it, because obviously things have changed since we first appointed Link. Obviously we're more experienced as constituent authorities of the pool. We're more confident of what we want and expect from a pool operator, and the procurement and tender document is going to be redesigned in line with that. Obviously, the market landscape has changed since we last tendered. There are new entrants to the market, participants in the market who have left. So it is a different landscape that we're going to be tendering into. However, we're confident that we'll be able to identify a partner. Could very well still be Link at the end of that process, but it's a process, and it's a process which will be observed, and hopefully a successful outcome will be derived from it. But a lot of work is going on. I think Karen will be attending an operator procurement subgroup meeting this afternoon to progress that piece of work. So, and then at the top of that page, the ongoing sub-fund developments. The committee are aware that we've appointed private debt and infrastructure sub-fund managers and also private equity sub-fund managers, and work is ongoing in the due diligence and onboarding and know your client and all the taxation documentation. Poor Karen has been working tirelessly in the last 12 months or so onboarding that. It's taken longer than expected, to be brutally honest, but because of the nature of the asset classes and legalities around them, it is proving quite a long process. But hopefully the finishing line is in sight, and we'll be able to start transitioning assets in due course. Also, you'll see here reference to launch of the WPP's Sustainable Equity Sub-Fund, and as you'll see later on in the papers, I'll be able to update you in a bit more detail. Read the progress of that, and I'm pleased to tell you that the launch of that fund is pending. And then the rest of the business plan is outlines all the other governance work of the Wales Pension Partnership in respect of their required policies and documentation they're required to have in place in terms of oversight and compliance, and a whole raft of work that colleagues have to support to deliver that in respect of WPP. Of direct interest to committee members, and I know a lot of you do participate very actively, there's the training plan on page 58, and I know it's very well attended by Swansea committee members, but as you can see, there's a very full training plan identified for pension fund committee members to attend. And topically, TCFD reporting, obviously that's pending. We're going to have to start reporting as a pool on our climate related risks, and it's appropriate that committee are appropriately trained to challenge that reporting going forward. And then on page 63 we have an update, then a formal update on progress to the Wales Pension Partnership business plan for this current year. This is the Q3 review, and it largely just reiterates what I've said about the progress of those sub funds and the progress of the operator procurement exercise. Happy to take questions, Chairman.
Thank you, Jeff. That's quite lengthy description of where we are. Is there any questions from the committee for Jeff? No? Okay then. Well, moving on now to section 7C, which is a recommendation on that one, is it? Yes. Thank you, Jeremy. Yeah, there's a recommendation on page 44 to approve. Can I have a show of hands?
Okay, thank you, Chair. That's carried.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to section 7C, admission body status. So I believe this is still you, Jeff.
Thanks, Chairman. Again, this is a report looking for the committee's approval to the two recommendations on page 71. This is an admission body status report. From time to time, the Pension Fund Committee will receive applications from employing bodies to be admitted to the LGPS as an employer. As you can see on page 71, at the bottom of page 71, local government pension regs allow that a body that is providing or will provide a service or assets in connection with the exercise of a function of a scheme employer as a result of the transfer of the service or assets by means of a contract or other arrangement to be admitted to the LGPS. So in short, City and County Swansea Pension Fund has historically had a number of these admitted body arrangements, and we can reference lots of our long-standing employers in that regard. Titarian, the housing authority, they were admitted a number of years ago. Celtic Leisure, again, a long-standing employer within the scheme. All these employers have been admitted subject to full due diligence and admission agreements being completed with those employers, but also one of our requirements as administering authority before admitting an employer is an accompanying sponsoring employer guarantee. Normally, in relation to these services or assets that is referenced within that regulation, is derived from a main scheduled employer. So in our case, the main scheduled employer would be either the Swansea Council or Neath Talbot Council, or one of the education bodies that are scheduled bodies within the scheme. So we always expect an accompanying sponsoring guarantee, hence providing comfort to the Pension Fund Committee that those potential liabilities going forward, should they become unfunded or orphan, can be met by the ultimate sponsoring employer. In this respect, we've received an admission body application from a Mrs. Bucket. That is correct pronunciation, is it, Jeremy, or is it not Mrs. Bouquet? A professional commercial cleaning company who have been appointed by one of our secondary schools to undertake the cleaning services. Obviously, that cleaning service would have been undertaken by Swansea Council originally, with the Swansea Council directly employed cleaner, and the proposal is that cleaner will retain that role for cleaning for that school. However, she will now be engaged by Mrs. Bucket, and hence to protect that individual's LGPS pension rights, we're required to consider the admission of Mrs. Bucket as an LGPS employer within the scheme. They will be required then to pay the normal employer contributions alongside the employee member contributions. There's a whole admitted body agreement that they have to sign and conditions they have to comply with as being an employer. However, we've got comfort as well, is that it's not their first rodeo in that regard. Mrs. Bucket have entered into similar agreements with Cardiff Council and Rhondda and Taff Council in respect of their pension funds and their cleaning arrangements with their schools or other organisations where they have won contracts to do the same. So they're conversant with the operation of the LGPS. They're comfortable with their obligations in respect of remitting contributions and complying with our requirements in terms of reporting. So the recommendation, Chair, is that on page 71 is that the Pension Fund Committee approves that admission body application of Mrs. Bucket, subject to completion of a satisfactory admission agreement, and there is an issue of start date with this. That contract has already commenced, and this is after the effect. We were only told of this arrangement very late in the day, and hence this is the first opportunity to seek Pension Fund Committee approval in this regard, and I'm given delegated authority to finalise the admission agreement and with alongside our legal advisors to finalise that admission agreement and get the requisite sponsoring employer guarantee from the employer, which in this case is Swansea Council.
Any questions for Jeff?
Yeah,
I'll bring it.
yeah. This is only one person at the moment. Does this mean now that because the company has got a foot in the door, could she then employ other people and then join our pension fund? And just to finish off, can we put a rider saying that all contributions got to be paid on or before the due date?
To your first question, Councillor Downing, it will be on closed basis, the admission, i.e. there will be a schedule attached to the admission agreement naming this individual, and only that individual will be allowed to join the scheme, because obviously we have to demonstrate within that regulations that they're delivering services in relation to an employer within this area. So that's the safeguard in respect of Mrs. Bucket allowing other employees who don't discharge duties in relation to this contract into the scheme. So there will be a schedule attached to the admission agreement naming the individual, and that admission is solely in respect of that. So when that individual leaves that contractual employment or retires, that admission will cease.
Will?
Thank you, Chair. Very similar question to what Phil answered, but I think it's slightly different. If Mrs. Bucket are to take on other contracts in other schools, we won't have to come back and do this again. They would presumably be able to incorporate those, or would they have to come back to this?
At this stage, Councillor Thomas, I envisage that they would come back, because as far as we know at the moment, this is a one-off. And hopefully it is a one-off. As I, you know, I'm not speaking for education colleagues, but however, our education department discharge cleaning services for all the other schools in Swansea Council and in the Swansea area, and along that may that continue. However, because of specific issues in this specific school, because they have delegated powers, they've determined to outsource that arrangement. So I very much take your point for efficiencies that perhaps it could be on an admitted body basis for future employees as well. However, I'm not envisaging this to be the start of many. It's an isolated instance. It's because of local issues there, yeah, and on that basis, I'm envisaging it being a one-off. However, you know, if it does occur in other schools, we will, you know, revert back to committee to ask for your approval to allow admission.
Right, we're here to approve the recommendation, or to vote on the recommendation, I should say. So could we have a show of hands for approval?
Okay, thank you, Chair. That's all in favour.
Thank you. That's lovely. Moving on, section 6, item D, pension dashboard preparedness resourcing. So again, it's you, Jeff. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Chairman. You may have heard in national and popular press about pensions dashboards, and probably you might have even seen advertisements on the television, advertising such services. There is a requirement, and as you see in the report on page 99, that following the announcement in March that there would be delays to delivery of the pensions dashboard, the pensions minister issued a written statement on the 8th of June. Which included the following: that legislation will be updated to set an overall connection deadline for all schemes of 31st of October 2026. Obviously, this has been pushed back. Obviously, lots of schemes are already gearing up for this anyway, but it's been pushed back. However, despite the fact that the ultimate connection date is being pushed back, it's envisaged that public sector schemes connection date will be well ahead of that final date. So that's what we're preparing for as an LGPS. Some of you may be asking, what are pensions dashboards? And you know, for your benefit, that they're just intended to provide a secure single port of call for individuals to access all their pensions information and history in one place, hopefully including their state pension in time as well. So the intention is for individuals to be able to better plan for their retirement, not to have to scrabble around at different places finding out their pensions history and pension pots that they may have lost track of over time. So how will they work? Multiple dashboard providers expected in the marketplace. Individuals will navigate to a dashboard of their choice and submit a request to view their pensions information, and then that's when all the work behind the scenes goes on. We as a pension dashboard provider then have to issue electronic requests to all the schemes to search for your information and search the databases that everyone holds for pension pots that the individual may have there, and then be able to report back to that initial request. So it's very much a technological driven program, and requires a lot of tech to support it, but also it's quite front heavy in work in terms of ensuring, because it's going to be a live system with real-time information. So the expectation is that we as a dashboard provider will be able to provide up-to-date information. So we need to make sure that all the information we have from our employers in respect of our members is up to date. And that's a bit of background really in respect of this report, is that we're looking for additional resource really to support that additional work in data cleansing, B, working with our employers to get them up to speed in terms of comms, in terms of regularizing that data flow to ensure these pensions dashboards will work. As far as the LGPS is concerned, we're quite lucky in that the technological provision for the LGPS is largely a monopoly held by Haywood's Altair. They have over 85% of the market, so they're fully up to speed. They're fully supporting to provide the back end, i.e. all that search information, all that data and plug-in that goes on behind the scenes to ensure that we meet our obligations as far as a dashboard provider is concerned. So as it says on page 3.1, much of the technical infrastructure will be handled by our software providers at Haywood's Altair, but and hopefully those find requests will be automated. But there's a lot of processes and day-to-day member inquiries that once we have that information, that just throws up queries in itself, and that will need human intervention to clarify and deal with the member who's making the queries to be able to answer any questions arising. We're in a good place, obviously, in preparedness for the dashboard. We've just come out of a trial evaluation, massive data cleanse exercise as a result of that. As was reported by our actuary, our data was in a very good position. He was very pleased with the quality of that data. And again, I want to pay credit to my colleagues, Claire Elliott and Nick Jenkins and Emily Peterson and all the team across in the admin side who the committee met and had presentations from at the last session, and all the work they do in ensuring that data is clean and up to date. So we're in a good starting position, but obviously, we've got new joiners now. We've got new people joining the scheme on a daily basis. So that data has to be maintained and kept up to date and ready for this. So the proposal, Chairman and committee, is identified on page 101 at point 4, is to appoint an assistant communications and training officer. Total costs identified there. with a remit to assist and input the points identified at the bottom of page 101.
Thank you, Jeff. Before we do that, is there any questions? Thank you. Come.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, just a very brief question. Do you see this role as a long-term, or is it just while the sort of system establishes itself? And secondly, how does the salary compare to other funds, and are other funds also employing people to do similar things when they implement this? Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Thomas. I'm envisaging this to be a permanent role. I mean, pension dashboards are here to stay. The queries will continue to arise. So for the foreseeable, I see it to be a permanent post. There is a permanent appointment. The staging date is a number of years off anyway. So even if it was a temporary appointment, the individual engaged would attain permanent status and permanent rights in any case. And they can be easily redeployed into other areas of pension administration, not dashboard related, should the workload reduce or should the technology be so seamless and fantastic that it needs no human intervention whatsoever, which probably shan't be the case, but we live in hope. But no, I envisage it being a permanent appointment, Councillor Thomas. In terms of the grading, it was deemed to sit alongside and be subordinate to our communications and training officer, and the grading was designed with that in mind, really. And in terms of benchmarking with other funds, I know lots of funds are getting ready and for pensions dashboard, but I couldn't tell you if this compares directly, and they're addressing it in the same way we're proposing to address it. So I can't really give you that market intelligence at the moment, Councillor Thomas.
Thank you. Just one question from me, Jeff. I wonder if you could give us give the committee some comfort on the security aspect of the electronic transfer of this information, because it's very hopefully very secure. But if you could just give us a little bit more on that aspect of the transfer. Thank you.
Thanks, Chairman. That's a very important question, and will be a primary consideration when Haywards Altair implement their solution with the Money and Pension Service and with their registration requirements. We're yet to have full technical details of what that entails and their encryption and their security, etc. Because, as I say, the staging date has been pushed back. But this report is brought to committee to ask for resourcing. There will be a further report to committee, Chair, outlining the full proposal for the Swansea dashboard, and you'll be able to then challenge and ask the questions in respect of data security, how it's transmitted, who can view it, how that data is stored, etc. And a detailed paper will be brought when those proposals are clearer. I don't know if our advisor Hyman's may be able to provide any more detail on. I know it's not your bag, Philip, and it's a tough one, but in terms of the priority and prioritization of data security, it's number 1, 2, and 3 in terms of the requirements of the system, Chairman.
Thank you, Jeff. Well, I look forward to receiving that report at a later date. Thank you. So I believe we have to have a vote on the recommendation. So all those in favour of the recommendation.
Thank you, Chair. That's all in favour. That's carried.
Thank you very much. That's good. Excellent. So moving on to the next item on the agenda, which is exclusion of the public. So everybody will. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.